Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Normal America Show. Host Rob Noerr. Hope you're all doing great. I know I'm on a little early today, but I should be going on with John Ward, a fellow streamer, trying to do something really cool, set up a sort of a network of particularly conservative populist streamers so that they could interact with each other. I think it's a really cool idea. I'm happy to something I'm happy to be part of. I've been in discussions with him for a little over a month, and my schedule's just been so crazy, as followers of my show know. So it's not his fault at all. It's totally on me. I've been unfortunately having to push back. So I was happy to be able to get on today. Unfortunately, it may mean I'm unable to do a stream later tonight. We'll see how it goes. Despite the fact that I have a herniated disc, I'm still able to contribute somewhat around the house by just being a dad and giving my wife time to do stuff. So she's got some little gardening she would like to get done this evening at some point. She planned on getting it done today, and I was going to hang out with Hank, but because I'm doing my show earlier here with John, she thought maybe in my normally scheduled time around 7 to 8, she would go outside and do some yard work tonight. So we'll see how it goes, but I doubt I will be streaming this evening. I don't know how long we'll go. We're supposed to start here at 3 p.m., so I'm a little early. I have this weird thing that occurs to me in life all the time where my current job, anytime I take a week off, I end up usually working more. That was something that happened today, so I actually had to go into work today, even though it's supposed to be my week off, and then I will be going in Thursday as well all day. So that's the sort of stuff that happens, but nothing to complain about. If that's the worst you have going in life, things are going pretty good. So things are pretty good for me. Pretty excited. Looking forward to my debate tomorrow with Noah Smith. I think it'll be an interesting debate. I have to admit, I think it's a debate, one of the ones I've been most excited about in quite some time, because I feel like I'm debating someone in their element, and that's what I like to do best. So I want to debate economists on the economy. I want to debate foreign policy experts on foreign policy. So it'll be fun to debate an economist that's going to say that Biden's economy is doing quite well, or that Biden's done quite well for the economy. And he's going to have, hopefully, pretty in-depth knowledge of the numbers that he'll try to spin a story to you that is not evident from what you see on Main Street, which is people struggling mightily on Main Street, but the Biden administration and economists telling you, oh, it's one of the most booming economies we've ever had. So I think it'll be an interesting challenge for me, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's better than a lot of the debates I get where it's just people that don't know what they're talking about. So, no, I think John's going to probably agree with me most on the Trump lawfare stuff. So I think he's a fellow conservative. But it'll be interesting to see into exactly what we're talking about. Just close some windows here. I think I can close that. So I would like to do some research. Hopefully I get to do some research before my debate tomorrow, just on some of the economic numbers. I was going to do a live stream where we were just looking at research together. But maybe I'll just have to do that on some of my downtime, mostly on my phone. But I anticipate it'll be a heavy evidenced debate, which is fine by me. Sometimes when you delve into the evidence, you lose the forest for the trees. And particularly with economic data, you could spin a story to say whatever you want. So you could take the same data sets, the same numbers, and make a presidency or an administration look awful or awesome. But it doesn't really paint an accurate picture of what the people on the street are going through. But it would be nice to have some knowledge of specific statistics that might come up regarding the most recent QD4 numbers that we've seen in others. Other than that, how's everyone doing? I thought we had a good stream yesterday. Got a call in. That was nice, right? Worst journalist of the year, Don Lemon. Yeah, how's his X show going? Not very well, huh? Is this good logic? I don't believe so. I don't think John Ward's good logic. No, different person entirely. So hopefully I'll be doing a stream with Good Logic soon. I know it's someone I reached out to. Son, how's he? He's 3. He'll be 4 in January, so he's doing very well. He's grocery shopping with the wife right now. Was very excited to purchase a watermelon today. He wants to buy and cut into a watermelon to eat, so it sounds like a good as plan as any. How about this story today? I know it's probably not something we'll be talking about with John here, but this story that was broken by Newsweek that Tucker Carlson was launching his show on Russian state TV, which is a lie. And then we have Cernovich says, intelligence community member NGO gives a fake tip to a regime apparatchik. This tip becomes a story. The story becomes the basis for a FISA warrant application. That's what Newsweek's trying to do. We already know Tucker's communications have been caught up by intel agencies. He's proven that. So, just more absolute garbage. Yeah, the call-in yesterday was interesting, right? I had fun with that. Redlining. Man. Yeah, I hear you, Martin. So we're just waiting. Again, we were supposed to start at 3 p.m., but I told John I would be in the background of his Zoom call here, so he could bring me on at any time. I'm not quite sure. But as soon as we hear him, we'll jump in. And I think we're going to talk particularly about lawfare against Trump, particularly the Bragg case that's going on as we speak, where it looks like I believe the defense is rested, though admittedly I've been busy working today, so I was unable to see all of the events of today. So maybe he'll have some that he would like to share with me that I haven't picked up on. I saw that it was released in the Judge Cannon release of documents from Christopher Wray's FBI that they justified law enforcement officers to use deadly force in the raid of Mar-a-Lago. Look at this, Martin Dillon. Same person as me. I didn't even read that comment. I was looking at yeah, it's incredible. The mere fact that they did the raid like this, I said at the time it was nonsensical. Trump was cooperating to a point. Now, is it true that Trump could have just said, "Oh, take everything you want right now," immediately? Yeah, you could say he always could have cooperated more, but Trump thought he was operating within the correct legal bounds. Remember, they decided to go after Trump. We could see from the guy at NARA that was basically #resist. They said the day they saw Trump leaving the White House, they were like, "What's in those boxes?" Blah, blah, blah. They don't do that with any other president. None. It's just with Trump, they decided the whole time, we're going to keep going, keep needling. Thank you so much, 2x2. I really appreciate it for the follow. I think John's political leading is probably conservative, right-winger. I don't know him as well as some of the other people I've interacted with, but I know he was heavily recommended to me by some people that watch my stream, and I reached out to him, and he was very interested in, he wants to set up sort of a network. I used to do something called the Patriot Panel, where it was sort of right-wing streamers that would do a weekly show. He wants to set something like that up. Not necessarily a weekly show per se, but to have a collective of right-wing personalities online that have sort of some connections that they're able to work together to be able to do some shows, research, and things like that. So I said I would be more than happy to be part of it. So I'm assuming he's going to be similar to me aligned politically. But obviously there'll be differences. There's no two people that directly align. So we could see that the setup of raiding Mar-a-Lago or investigating in the first place, it was always set up to do this. And we could see that there were all sorts of things along the way. There was communications between Trump's team and the team at the FBI. That wasn't good enough. There was the Trump's team let people in Mar-a-Lago. That wasn't good enough. There were accusations that there was, footage and stuff. They were piercing attorney-client privileges to get information, things that were unusual that they don't do in other instances. Then they had a raid. Remember, the initial raid, it did things like it took cocktail napkins, passports, souvenir baseball bats. Now, I remember arguing at the time, the fact that they're raiding a former president is already insane, But if you're going to do that, you would want it to be as narrowly tailored as possible. Instead, it was the exact opposite. And now we find out that they authorized the use of deadly force. Is it the same John Ward that was a corsair for the Ottoman Empire? He died in 1622. It could be. Who knows? With AI technology, anything's possible. Could you imagine, though, if Trump's DOJ, like they decide that they're going to charge Biden with something if Trump wins, and they authorize deadly force in the raiding of Biden's home? What do you think the official narrative would be? Oh, Trump sent his brown shirts, his Praetorian Guard, to murder his opponent. That's what the narrative would be. We all know it. We know that's what it would be. But with Trump, it's, well, he's a bad dude. Also, we keep hearing, I want to go back to the Tucker Carlson thing for a minute. If you missed the story, Newsweek was reporting falsely, apparently, that Tucker had set up a show on Russian state TV, which Tucker's team's claiming that's not true. It's never been true. Remember, allegedly, the reason Tucker Carlson was fired was because of things he said about Dominion that cost Fox News billions of dollars or millions of dollars in a lawsuit. That would mean that Tucker should be able to sue for millions of dollars of Newsweek if this story's incorrect, correct? That's what it would mean. Now, that's not the reason Tucker was let go, by the way. Tucker was let go because he was telling the truth in Ukraine. That's why they didn't want him there. There's no evidence that it was just what Tucker was saying that caused the lawsuit. Julie Kelly, by the way, if you're not following Julie Kelly on Twitter, you're making a huge mistake. She's just been phenomenal on reporting the abuses of Lawfare against Trump and the January 6th folks. I'll put her link up here, but please check that out. She's also reporting today the FBI ransacked and took photos of Melania's bedroom and Barron's bedroom. We have Paul Sperry. I saw this earlier today. I'm going to wrap my head around this. It says, breaking, Mueller's FBI edited sections of a video seized by London cops from flat of a Saudi intel agent that made it clear that pre-9/11 party he hosted for the hijackers was intended to honor them as special martyrs, misleading the 9/11 Commission who saw only the incomplete version. Now, if that's true, if Mueller, when he was head of the FBI, was hiding evidence to show Saudi's involvement in the planning of 9/11, it just goes to show how corrupt it's been. Oh, I think we're...
I've been battling internet problems. Let me start my camera for you.
What's up?
Oh, I'm fucking pissed, man. I'm losing my shit.
What's going on?
Oh, not too much. Not too much. I'm very much ready to let you just talk.
Oh, I'm in.
Are you coming on with a camera?
Oh, yeah. I'm streaming now, so I'm a boomer, so I gotta figure out how to switch my camera, but I'll get her.
Oh,
here we go.
You're better than I am, I'm sure. Let me see here. So I'll kind of briefly introduce you here while you get set up, but your audio is live. Feel free to say fucking shit and stuff. I don't give a shit.
Fuck shit.
Oh, there you are.
Stuff. There we go. Same with me. I don't. At this point, if kids are watching,
let me turn your Zoom cam on here.
Okay.
And then we should be good to go.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Get set up on my end.
Oh, well, you're on camera, so bad news.
Oh, well, that's okay.
You're fine. It can't get any worse than it started, so no sweat.
All right.
I see some people chatting now. All right, so this is Robnoerr. There is his link tree right there below you, which I had ready to go. I'm going to pull that up right there. Do you have a main platform?
Let's say YouTube for now before they kick me off, I guess. But yeah, Normal America with Robnoerr on YouTube.
All right, so TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Let me
Yeah.
pull up your YouTube here real quick. Oh, maybe I should subscribe to you. All right, so just over 5,000. Give this guy some follows. His content is excellent. It's
Thank you.
excellent. Oh, look at that. You're streaming us right back.
Look at that. Yeah. Hey,
I like that.
just to my audience, this might be a no video thing on my end, but that's okay. I can't figure out how to get OBS to window capture Zoom. It's no big deal though.
Do a, where did I fucking do that? I'm gonna pull you back up here. That is called a screen capture.
Yeah, that's what I did. The window. I guess I could do screen maybe though.
And then you may have to manually select from that.
Capture method. Let's try this.
And
There we go.
Yep, take
Nailed it.
Sweet.
All right.
I don't want to dox you, but can I say, like, I know what state you're in. I don't know anything beyond that. Is that cool?
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm in Clarion County in Pennsylvania.
There you go.
So there you go.
He's a PA guy like us. Maybe we can convince you to get involved in 3CC some way, although that would probably require our streams actually working. So this is robnoerr. I stumbled across him in my rare excursions into trying to find good content. Let me get my fucking mouse off your face here. And I really liked your stuff. You talk quickly, intelligently, even to some other intelligent people and things like that. So I'll throw you to the wolves now. Explain yourself.
That's
How come you're not retarded? And why are you doing this?
might be the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Explain why I'm not mentally handicapped. So I grew up in rural Pennsylvania my whole life. I've lived in the same area, probably within 20 miles. I'm 39 years old, so I've lived here my whole life. The people I love the most are blue collar workers. Everybody's lower middle class or low class that I grew up with. I love it. Grew up working, did things like worked on a Christmas tree farm, worked briefly on an actual farm, hobby farms, things like that. All my friends are welders and road workers and roofers and things like that. I went to university at Clarion University, became a pretty good debater, did policy debate, was nationally ranked in that. And I started to realize that all of the stuff that I suck at that I respect, like I'm a terrible hunter, I can't fix my car to save my life, all the blue collar redneck shit, that I love, I'm terrible at. But one thing I could do was speak. And I was pretty good at advocating for what I saw as the fact that no one gives a shit about people in rural America. Like, no one in our culture, no one in our politics. It's all just, they're treated with contempt. We're flyover country. We're 10-tooth rubes. We're all racist. And I think it's bullshit because I think these people are what makes this country great and they're being left behind. And so I decided that I was going to get involved in local politics around 2015. I think 2014 or 2015, I tried to run as a libertarian. I was working full time at the time. I did home health care, so I was unable to really get any progress on that. I started to get involved with my local Republican Party, and then I ran for Congress in District 12 in a special election in 2019, which I did surprisingly well. Out of 24 people that ran, I was in the top 10, and I got to speak at the convention. And basically, what I told a bunch of these career politicians was that we're tired of voting for them as Republicans and them going to Washington and not giving a shit about us, and that 10-tooth rubes like me were going to come take their jobs eventually. I don't want involved in politics. I want to watch the Pittsburgh Pirates. I want to drink beers with my friends. I want to hang out with my wife and kid. But there's no choice at this point. We're continually let down by these people that we go to bat for. And around that same time, I started to get a little more prolific live streaming online. And so my specialty is I enjoy debating people, particularly left-wing people, but I'll debate anyone, and sort of proving the point in what I see as the fundamental issue in our government today, which is corruption. I think that the two-party system is basically a farce. I think at the top level of the Republican and Democratic Party, they are the same, and their agenda is to keep anyone that is a potential outsider out of those positions of power. And Donald Trump was seen as sort of the avatar of that. It's not that Trump is the best populist ever. It's that they were fearful when they have total...
I don't mean to cut you off, Rob. They might be onto us.
Uh-oh, they got us?
They might have got us again. I don't know. Let me just quickly chat. Is it working for you? Because I just jumped up. I'm just dropping frames like crazy again.
I noticed that I'm
so tired of this shit, man.
It's crazy. I notice I'm a little laggy.
Yeah, just out of no. It's it starts up. It worked fine initially, and then it accumulates this fucking packet loss in this suburban Pittsburgh,
Ugh,
and I'm fucking tired of it. Give me 2 seconds
no
here, and
problem.
if it's not, maybe we'll like pre-record something. Yeah, a bit glitchy. People are saying, hold on.
Was the audio good? Because I'm not that attractive anyway. So
Your
even if
yeah, the audio always seems to be good.
fuck,
That's a different protocol I've learned. It's choppy as hell. Fuck me, man. I know you kind of rearrange your schedule a little bit even to try to make this happen. So for what it's worth, I fucking apologize.
oh no, no, man.
Um,
If I don't mind if the video's choppy, if you and the audience don't, as long as they could hear us, right?
no, they're saying fine now. So it's just we're not dropping anything now. Let's keep going for
Okay,
a minute here. Let me just because I totally derailed that. My bad. But
it's
let
all
me.
right.
Nope, you're not the Harambe phone. There you are. Let me touch on a couple things. So,
Sure.
so the blue collar, and it's not unique to Pennsylvania, but
Mm-mm.
Pennsylvania has this saying that it's Pittsburgh and Philly and Alabama in between. I'm sure you've heard that one.
Pennsyltucky, yeah.
Yeah. Fucking Christ, again? Zero, zero frames, 0 bit rate. We might be totally offline.
Hmm. I have this trouble sometimes with OBS. It'll do it with me, but only
Is it
rarely.
well, maybe we can yeah, it's seems okay. Holy fucking Christ. Let it roll, they say. Let it roll. Okay. I'm just going to ignore it. The audio will be good one way or another. And then someday, man, I'll figure out a way to do a video thing that looks nice.
Shit, we'll do it in real
I
life.
waited, I think, when did I first reach out to you? Like 2 weeks ago now or something? I've been working on fixing this that long.
That's well, like I said, maybe I don't know if you're remotely near me in Pennsylvania. Maybe we'll meet up in someday. We
I'd
can
be
just do.
100%
That'd
down
be
for
cool.
that this year, for sure.
Yeah,
And then I might vanish into the wilderness and you're never going to see me again. But okay,
that'd
so
be an even better comfort. We just bullshit in the woods. We don't need a camera.
that'd be even better, honestly. That's the end goal.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. I think a lot of my viewers would as well. That there's this the cool we're not the cool kids, and yet we're doing all the fucking shit, holding everything together, it certainly feels like. Um, and so you had said in there, ran for Pennsylvania
Yeah,
Congress.
District
Okay.
12. Yep.
Okay, District 12. Okay, I'm still learning the districts, honestly, myself. Are you involved with any local politics in your area?
Not much anymore because it's sort of a long story. I'll make it as quick as possible. I used to be in the Clarion County Republicans, was there pretty much every day. My work schedule changed, so their meetings are on a Tuesday, and I normally work Tuesdays. But nonetheless, I was still involved in Clarion County Republic. They were pissed off that I decided I was going to run for office against the incumbent Glenn Thompson at one point, who's the
Mm,
most senior Republican in the state. And so I decided to instead run for District 12 because that was a special election, so I wasn't primarying anyone. And I was shocked to find out when I requested like a letter of good standing from my local Republican Party for that district that I was running for, that they basically were unwilling to give it to me. So fuck
yeah.
them. They
Mhm.
basically feel that it's a good old boys club and you need to wait your turn. And my question is, what have the state level Republicans done for shit other than leave Democrats run ramshackle and how we vote in this state, which all by assures that Republicans won't win this state at the
It
national level for years to come. So fuck
That's a
them.
great point. I kind of want to ask you about that vibe because I'm getting that vibe too. I've just this year decided to get involved. I'm in Center County and I'm
Okay.
like, oh, I'll get involved in the local politics in my head, offering my services for
By the
free.
way, Center County is where I'm most involved. I know a lot of people there I could get you in touch with.
By all means, yeah.
Williamsport, right that area. My good friend
Okay.
Carlos. I
The
know.
millionaires.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, man, all that little league bucks, coming through
Yeah.
there.
Williamsport's a weird place. So
Yeah,
that's really cool. I like, there's a couple other PA guys. In fact, I'll probably try to put you in touch with some people too if I can. But
yeah, sure.
that's what I want. But so I think we're actually lucky in that the local people in the county are sort of, it was a job nobody wanted.
Yeah.
But they're now running into problems. I know they're having a meeting today with somebody, and then I should say, they filed a lawsuit because our county solicitor is just blatantly cheating already. Betsy Dupuy is her name, and her name's been on, I think, at least 20 other counties. They ran this 100. They're not fake ballots, they're just improperly filled out ballots. And I'm willing to believe they're probably legitimate. but it's completely a test run to see what they really have accomplished with all of this is that they'll get counted if they're not filled out correctly in the real election. That's exactly what they're trying to do. But this whole like you try to get involved, and the reaction I get probably will sound familiar to you is not that anybody sees you as an ally or potentially helpful, but that you're somehow competition.
That's right. What they want you to do, it's
I didn't even run for anything.
right. They want you to be like, like their production assistant, like, oh, hand
Yes.
out yard signs when we want,
Yeah.
and, make these phone calls, which I did all of that stuff. I
Right.
did.
I don't mind doing it either.
But when it comes time to like, well, I have some ideas, even if it's not you running, if you're just like, I think we should go in this direction, all of a sudden they don't want to hear your opinion. So I'll give you, there's we used to go, a really cool guy put on, why can't I think of his name? I'll come up with his name by the end of this, but he puts on this thing called the Rally on the Rock, and it's in Bradford County. And a lot of the center county people go to that, and a lot of the state level politicians and even some national politicians end up there. I went there 2 years ago, and I met Dr. Oz, who was running for office. So I stand in line to meet Dr. Oz, and I'm next in line, and his assistant's like, hey, you want me to take your phone and take a picture with you? It's like, sure. And I get up and I shake his hand. I'm like, yeah, I think you're going to be terrible. You were my last pick for candidate. And I told him, I was like, I feel like you just represent everything that's wrong with the Republican Party. You're basically someone who's not representing rural Americans. You came in from outside the district. It doesn't seem like you have a populist bent to you. You seem more establishment. However, I hope you prove me wrong, and I'll be supporting you over the Democrat that you're running against, over John Fetterman. But it was amazing. The real story there was to talk to all of these people that were just dumbstruck by how amazing Dr. Oz was. He has so much charisma. He's such a good talker. I got charisma and I'm a talker. That don't mean shit. Right? What are your policies? Like, you shouldn't at this point, if you're in the Republican apparatchik, be, starstruck by someone. You should actually have a plan going forward. To me, one of the greatest failures of the Republican Party in Pennsylvania is that after we lost to basically a human vegetable in John Fetterman in 2020, there were no major changes in the Republican Party at the state level. How can that be? That's as big of a failure as you could have. And all of these Republicans, both in the state GOP and Republicans that are involved in sort of the state level in Harrisburg, they signed off on all of this ballot harvesting, mail-in ballots. They did. They signed off because they all shit their pants over COVID. And when I was screaming at them, I'm on conference calls with them. I'm going to meetings in real life talking to them. I'm saying, what's this 15 days to slow the spread? This is shit. This isn't constitutional. They're going to use this to shut down the economy, to steal the election. And they all thought I was crazy. Now they're all Johnny-come-latelys 4 years later saying, oh, these changes were unconstitutional, which they were. The Pennsylvania state constitution says that you can't have mail-in ballots like this. But nonetheless, that's where we're at. And until there's change within the Republican Party where they're willing to accept new blood, it's difficult. I'll say this and I'll let you, I know I could tendency to ramble on.
No, you're fine. This was my intention. Keep going.
There does need to be a healthy mix. I'm not saying that you need to get rid of everyone who's entrenched in the establishment Republican Party. I understand that there are people that are good people that have put a lot of time and money into their position, and they think, I've been involved in local politics for 25 years, I've been putting on fundraisers, etc. Who's these guys like Rob and John to come in and say, well, shit's got to change? To hell with them. They haven't, earned their stripes. I get that mentality. We can't just throw those people out. There is room for those people to have a voice and to have some input in what's going on. But if you are so entrenched in that sort of hierarchy that you're unwilling to accept new blood that's coming in saying, listen, what has this establishment Republican GOP, particularly in state level GOP in the state of Pennsylvania, what has it done for us? What has it done for the people in the center of this state? What are the big victories that we could point to, especially lately? And they just act like that's a personal attack on them. How dare you? I mean, one of the things that I thought was absolutely amazing was talking to county commissioners. There's a video of me talking on a good friend of mine who was the Perry County commissioner and a couple other people involved in the Republican state party that we were talking about their dislike of Mastriano, who was the GOP candidate for governor. And one of the reasons they were pissed was Mastriano was basically running as an anti-establishment candidate. And he didn't show up to their fundraisers. He didn't show up to their dinners. And so I'm talking to these official GOP people involved in county and state level politics that are saying, well, we're not sure how much people are going to get out and support Mastriano. And I said, that's your job. You like the idea that you're pissed off because this guy didn't pick up the phone and call you or show up to your house for dinner is nonsensical. You're the
Yeah, that
problem.
is exactly what it appears to be all about. And then, so my second question would be even beyond that. So I think that's best case scenario is
Right.
local politics. Part of me somewhat suspects that it's straight up intended, like you were saying earlier, that it almost feels like they're trying to lose, like they're like it's Democrat operatives, so to speak. So we've had no help, it seems like, from the state GOP, let alone the national, on this lawsuit and stuff. And our local person sent them the evidence and sent them the 20 other counties, and they said,
Here's
nah,
here's the thing, right? Like, I think you're right, but not maybe in the way that people think. I think at the
it's not
national,
malicious.
well, here's the thing. At the national level, I think the Mitch McConnells, etc., they understand it's a big party. Them and the Democrats, Schumer and McConnell are more alike than different. They'll jockey within their, as long as those two maintain power, which one's the minority and which one's the majority. What they don't want is people coming from within their own institutions usurping their power. So collectively, they have power, and they don't want that to fall. I don't think that the state level people are really like, we're happy to work with Nancy Pelosi. I don't think that. But I think it's a very similar thing on a smaller scale. What it is they would rather be big fish in the small pond. They want to maintain their hegemony over the control of the state GOP, right? And what they don't want is someone that comes in that is seen as a populist or an anti-establishment person that's going to say, the problem is within the people that have been in office forever, and that includes those in the state GOP. They would rather maintain their position of power over a losing party than actually work with someone that's considered a populist that will change these lawsuits or challenge these lawsuits that would end up resulting in people like them losing their positions of power within the party. And so to me, that's what's going on. They don't care to raise issues of, wait a minute, the way this system's been done and we were complacent in allowed a bunch of votes that were possibly fraudulent in 2020, 2022, etc. They don't want any part of that because they could be blamed for allowing that to occur. So to them, it's just, let's move on. The populist guy lost. Let's get back to a sort of, what's the dude that's running again?
When nobody was paying attention to what I was doing and I was having a great time, get back to that
Right.
sort of thing.
Yeah, let's put McCormick back in there. Let's get these old faces that you're used to, the same old faces, the Bushites, the Romney guys. Let's get them back and go back to the system of, because they don't, the way the Republican Party's been trending, and don't get it twisted, the Democratic Party was trending this way for a long while too. The average person, like, we make fun, I'm sure you've done this. You make fun of like these people in inner city Detroit or Chicago. It's like, so you voted Democrat the past 100 years and you keep saying things are getting worse and worse. Who are you voting for this time? And they're like, Democrat.
Yeah,
Well,
we need to hear this.
don't
Tell
we do
it.
the same shit with Republicans?
Slap us around, Rob.
Yeah, we do the same thing. Like, we keep voting for these same faces, and then nothing gets better. And then we're like, oh, well, we can't vote Democrat.
Well,
And
so then here's the ultimate version of that question. What do you think of Trump?
well, see, I like what I think Trump's made a lot of mistakes. There are things about him I don't like. But what Trump represented to me was the reason I voted for him. I'm a single issue voter, and that issue is corruption. I think at the top, these institutions are corrupt. And I think the mere fact that Trump was seen as an outsider would have forced the hand of the corrupt to out themselves. And that happened spectacularly. There is no debate since 2016 on, to anyone who's remotely paid attention, that our institutions, such as the media, executive agencies like the intel agencies, the IRS, the EPA, academia, all of our entertainment industry are all in collusion and being corrupt and being anti-populist. They exist for the promulgation of their own power. They work collectively, and in effect, you could call it a deep state or whatever you want to call it. It exists. It's real. It's corrupt, and it exists to entrench their own power and disenfranchise the individual. And Trump did a beautiful job, not because he was playing 40 chess, but because the mere fact he was seen as an outsider forced their hand. Where Trump failed was draining the swamp. Now, part of it was he failed because he trusted people that were terrible. Part of it was he made bad decisions. Part of it's because the swamp is so big, I don't even know if it's possible to drain, particularly in one presidential term. All of those things aside, you could say Trump didn't drain the swamp. So he didn't accomplish what I would have liked him to at the end of the day. And there's certainly a lot of problems I have continuing with him going forward. Like, he's talking about building the FBI, a new building. He doesn't seem to get it yet. I still think he thinks, well, if I'm, charismatic enough, they'll eventually come along to my side and let me get down to work. I don't think he understands what an existential threat like an organization like the FBI is. But he represents something. And what he represents is an outside group or outside person that wasn't under the total control, that had to rise through the ranks, like your Bushes, your Clintons, Obama, Biden. These are people that are career politicians that had to rise through the ranks that come from sort of the same lineage of the establishment people that are really in control behind the scenes in our country. And so for that reason, I support Trump because I think he is seen as someone. Similarly, I despise socialism. But I feel that in 2016, even though he's terrible now, I would have voted for Bernie Sanders over someone like Jeb Bush. Not because I like any of Bernie Sanders' potential policies, but because the same reason. I knew that the deep state would have came out after him with knives out, and hopefully it would have woke people up to how corrupt our system is. At the end of the day, me and yours vote doesn't matter at all. We could have the biggest disagreement right now on should we have tariffs against China, right? And maybe you'd blow me out of the water in that debate. But what does it matter if our vote doesn't matter? I'll give you an example. Right. It's a different country, but you'll see my point. They did a poll, and granted, I don't know how scientific this is, on Good Morning Britain yesterday. And you could see, based on the color in the face of the woman announcing the poll, the people weren't too happy on Good Morning Britain about the results of this poll. And the poll question was, do you think multiculturalism's been a success in the UK? 95% said no.
95, yeah.
But does it matter? Do you think that the Conservative Party, the Tories, you think the Tories or the Liberals are going to change their vote? No, it doesn't matter if 95% of the country hates it. They're going to keep doing, just like how many people in this country would have voted to bail out banks in 2008? Not many, right. And yet Republicans and Democrats both said yes. So the issue is, when you hear all of these people talking about attacks on democracy, we already have a failed democracy because what the actual people want doesn't matter. Most people, even Democrats, want a secure border, but we won't get one. Neither party will vote for it, and neither party will do actions for it. Why? Because it's not in their interest to have a secure border. And so for me, until we end that,
conspiratorial here.
Yeah.
Can you put names to these shadowy figures that you believe, not you believe in an insulting way? I believe so too. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on who those people are at the top? Like in Britain, is it the Rothschilds? Is it really that simple?
I don't think it's that simple. I do think that those sorts of people are involved. Old money, your Soros, your Rothschilds. I think those people are involved. But I also think that it's just this class of people. It's like a top 10%, right? It's new wealth's involved in this too, and new culture, right? So for example, you could see like the entertainment industry. There are people at the top of that would be involved in this. There are people at the top of the media and the academic establishment. Now, the academic people, they're not going to
let me throw this at you. So I think like just picking somebody at random, say P. Diddy, since he's been in the news. He clearly has influence. Mm-hmm. How much of a decision maker do you think he is about whether or not, say, people can come across the southern border?
Not at all. I don't think.
I would agree. Who is the person, do you think, that does decide that?
Well, I think that it's probably a conflagration of people. I think most of the people that are... Here's my general view on what's going on in the world. They're trying to return us to a new feudalism of haves and have-nots.
Trying.
Right. The biggest impediment to that's the middle class, particularly in the United States. And so what they want to do is make people dependent on the government and erode the middle class so that you'll literally have haves and have-nots. And once that's accomplished, then you'll basically return to a feudalism, a bread and circus mentality where it's like, listen, you can't criticize the government or we'll shut off your food stamp or your power or whatever else is necessary for you to, we'll shut off your banking. So you can't criticize us and you can't go out on your own because we've now entrenched the system so much that it's impossible for you to go out.
That's what's concerning to me. I'm concerned about the lack of places left to escape to. There's no new continents or oceans to cross. And we were joking on the last stream. I used to wonder what fucking would compel somebody to hollow out a log and go sail out into the ocean. Now I get it because I'm ready to do it. But where do you go? And so, you're not being blackpilling. I think it's important to like honestly talk about, and I'm very interested in how other people see this. And I think we're pretty much seeing it the same way. And so are a lot of other people. What is the point then to continue fighting or even caring, would you say?
Well, that's a great question. The first thing to say is this: you should never be blackpilled because I don't know if you're religious or not. If you're religious, you already have the answer. If you're a Christian, right, you win in the end, right? You end up in eternal paradise. But even if not, and I'm not one to wear my religiosity on my sleeve or anything, at the end of the day, 1,000 years from now, you're dust. No one's going to remember you, right? What's going to matter is, can you live with yourself? And did those loved ones that were around you, could they live with you? And so we can sit here online all we want. You see all of these grifters and all of these pontificators online that are saying what's popular of the day, right? They can lie to us, but can they lie to themselves, right? And they have to live with that person they see in the mirror. So for me,
I think that's probably their one skill. The successful influencers are the ones that are good at living with themselves being that way.
it does seem
Certainly
that way.
prevented me from succeeding.
Of course, right? The question is, do you need to be a shitty person to be an influencer, or does being an influencer make you a shitty person?
I think you got to be a whore.
Yeah, it seems.
Yeah.
And I've been there too. Look, it would have been easy for me to grow my channel substantially larger by just being like, Trump's always right, he's the greatest ever. But I didn't do that. I criticized Trump heavily during lockdowns.
You have a lot of nuance in your content, and you're a think. So I mean, I like to think humbly, patting myself on the back. If I'm good at anything, it's maybe not being an influencer, but it's spotting ones that aren't full of shit. And you don't see them very often. And then, of course, you find guys like you. I'm honestly surprised they even let you get to 5,000 on YouTube. When did you start YouTubing?
I think 2018 or 19.
Oh, okay. So just in the nick. When did you hit 5,000?
Dude, it's been a slog too, because here's the thing. I've had, for those that don't know, if you start a YouTube channel, they have what's called community guideline strikes. If you get 3 community guideline strikes in a 90-day period, you totally lose your channel. I've had 2 community guideline strikes probably for around 2 years of my channel, right?
And so what that means,
you have to go away for 90 days. And I've had to delete literally thousands of hours of material on YouTube. The last time I got a community guideline strike, this is what happened. I do home health care. So when I'm at work, I do what's called block shifts. I'm there 24/7 for like 70 hours in a row. So I had debated a trans activist, and about 2 days later, I'm at work, and all of a sudden my phone starts chirping. I had a client of mine at a doctor appointment. And I looked, and it was my email account that was attached to my YouTube, and it just kept coming up. Video deleted, video deleted, video demonetized, video deleted, like dozens of them. And so I went and checked. Luckily, they only gave me 2 community guideline strikes, but they removed like 17 of my videos on top of that, mostly for election or COVID disinformation. And the most recent video that they deleted was from like 2 years prior. So it wasn't like something that I just did. That means someone went and mass flagged my entire channel. Now, I'm at a dentist office or something, or a doctor's office, right? All I could do was go on my phone and literally just go to YouTube Studio and just click like all of my videos from 2 years back and further and just click delete, 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 delete. Because if they would have gave me one more community guide strike, that's it. My entire channel was gone. So I didn't have any of that material backed up. And that continues to happen to me over and over. It'll just be inexplicable. Like, for example, one of those 2 that got me a community strike was in December of 2020. My wife and I both got COVID. My wife was 9 months pregnant. So I decided to come up and do a live stream every night and say, this is what my COVID symptoms are. That got me a community guideline strike. Just talking about my symptoms of COVID. And I wasn't even like, it's nothing. I was like, I have a fever of 102. I can't taste anything. My wife can't taste anything, but she doesn't have a fever. You know, that's it. I was just talking about that's misinformation on COVID. And this is, granted, I got this removed. That's a video from December 2020. And this video was removed in like July of 2022. So it had been, years had gone by. And so it's hard to grow a channel. That's just getting deleted, right? That's not including the shadow banning. That's not including the demonetization. And so I understand that the type of message that I'm putting out there is going to be a message that's basically made sure not to be allowed. It's going to be throttled as much as possible when it comes to social media presence. So there are ways to get around it. There are tricks that you could use, that try to manipulate the algorithm, or you could try to just stay in a lane, right? If you don't mind grifting and you want to have a huge channel, flip a coin, decide you're going to be a right-wing streamer or a left-wing streamer, and then never, ever, ever criticize your side. No matter what, you always stick up for your side no matter what, and it doesn't matter what the truth is, but I can't do that. Like, my entire brand is I'm just trying to be me. Doesn't mean I'm always right. Doesn't mean I always have the hottest take, but I'm trying to be me. And I also don't really delve much into drama. So like I'll be like, I debated this shithead Destiny and his editor clipped me out of context. But that's within the realm of like, that's not like attacking my wife. That's not, so I just kind of like, whatever, it was a shitty thing to do. Here's what the real argument was and why I think I win it. But so much of what you see, even with right-wing online people at this point, is they're delving into sort of, manosphere type drama, or did you see this person's wife cheated on him? I don't mind that. I'm not saying that makes you shitty or anything. It's just not my forte. day. And unfortunately, that's this type of stuff I think that gets a lot of clicks. So it's a tough slog if you're just giving your opinion on culture and politics every day, and it's nuanced to build an audience. But I will say it's rewarding because the audience you do build, then I don't have to worry, and I'm sure you're in the same boat. We don't have to worry when we come on and talk that they're going to leave because we said one thing they don't like. They understand that we're going to say things they don't agree
I
with.
tell them to fuck off.
That's
quite
right.
often, and they say it right back.
Yeah.
I
And
see him again in a few weeks. They
That's
know
the
they'll
best
be
way.
back.
It's like the end of Rocky 5. You remember where he's like, the Don King type guy?
Oh,
Rocky's,
5?
Yeah,
Which
it's a
one was
shitty
that?
one. It was when he trains Tommy Gunn, right? And then they don't even have a real boxing match. They just have a bare knuckle fight in the parking lot.
That was before his really, really old
Yes.
reboot, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Sorry.
there's a scene
Irrelevant.
At
I'm kind of autistic. I latch on to just obscure details sometimes. Sorry.
So there's
Rocky
this,
5, take it away.
Got it. Rocky 5. So there's this Don King. He's like the fight promoter, this black guy with like crazy hair. And Rocky gets pissed at him at the end. He like grabs him. He's about to punch him. And the Don King guy's like, but I'll sue you. And he goes, for what? It just knocks him out. Like, that's how I feel. It's like being a modest streamer or a low level streamer. Like, what are you going to do? So what? They take my channel away? Fuck it. I'm going to say what I want. That's all I could do at this point. The calculation's different if I quit my job and this is my livelihood and my kid's not going to eat if I lose my channel tomorrow. That might influence what I could say. That might influence the type of story. But right now, I'm loving it because it's just I say whatever the fuck I want. And if I lose, the other day, I'm not particularly anti-Israeli necessarily. I think that they have way too much influence in our country and we shouldn't be sending any of these countries money. Israel being one of the bigger ones we shouldn't be sending money. But when all of these Republican, like, Greg Abbott in Texas started passing these hate speech bills, and if you looked at their definition of anti-Semitism, it said things like saying that the Jews killed Jesus. Well, that was the title of my video then. The Jews killed Jesus. It's like, fuck them. Like, and now that's not something I've ever said on channel.
That whole side, the Jewish thing is something that 10 years ago I would have just blindly been pro-Israel number one, but I never would have seen myself saying any of the shit I've started to say or notice lately. And it's just because it's that undeniable. Thank you, Circle Jerk 3cc, by the way. The sheriff is near. Is that a Blazing Saddles reference?
Yeah.
The sheriff is near. Okay, anyway, and I know what the sheriff is. I get what there's some real obscure jokes from these guys. You just gotta roll with it. Fuck, you had something in there that was really good, and then that comment totally threw me off.
The sheriff ruined it.
The sheriff ruined it.
You're gonna roll up, what was that, number 6? We're hooting and a hollering. It's one of my favorite jokes.
Did I have, man? I was gonna tempted to give you shit that because somewhat you were saying you were like, well, if you become a big channel, are you implying, Rob, that you're gonna start censoring yourself?
Of course.
I knew you. I knew you. Yeah, so I dropped that. There was something in there.
Well, let me ask you this. I have a question for
Yeah.
you. What's your policy on this? Because I am a big believer that anything that's said to me in confidence, in private or direct message, I'm not going to release unless the other person releases first. So, for example, if I have a direct message with someone and they accuse me of sexually harassing them and release part of it, then I might release
Sure.
to prove I did. But other than that, I'm not going to. So
I keep everything private by default.
Yeah. So I will
expect the same.
Yes.
That being said, is I also caution, which I think you would know, is if it's in a Twitter DM,
it'll be made
somebody
public.
else can read it.
Totally
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, like it's just, and so I think you have to operate that way. There has to be that understanding. There's some people I've stopped talking to that didn't honor that and everything like that.
That's right. So the reason I bring it up,
Go ahead.
for this. I had some people tell me in 2020 when the lockdown business started, in March of 2020, when Trump was kind of like, oh, we need to lock down more and all this shit. And I was offered a job by Trump's team. I was volunteering for Trump's team in Pennsylvania, and they offered me a position in Clarion County to be sort of the head person in Clarion County that was basically in charge of phone banks and knocking on doors and that stuff. And I turned it down because part of the condition was I had to end my social media. And I was like, no, I can't do that. And it was
really?
Yeah, it was like only $20,000 or something for the year. I would have had to quit my job. It wouldn't have been worth it to me financially. And I thought I could do even better for Trump by maintaining my social media. And anyways, a few days after that, I turned down that job. I ended up doing stream after stream criticizing Trump unrelated because of lockdowns and policies. I thought that he was making a huge mistake. I wasn't criticizing him because I wanted him to lose. It was the opposite. I thought he was falling for a trap that was going to hurt him, which I stand by. I was right about that. Anyways, I had all of these, at least 3 right-wing streamers that are much larger than me send me DMs, and I'm not going to disclose their names, but they said, we're glad that you're saying what you're saying, criticizing Trump, but we know we can't do it or we would lose followers. And so that's the sort of thing that happens where you have people that pick a team and then they build a brand and they feel like, well, so I don't know. Like it's one of these, I'm this weird person in life. I've even said this with my wife. Like I would never cheat on my wife, at least who I am now. But I don't know what I'll be 10 years from now, I guess.
Fair
you know?
point.
So
probably shouldn't say that to her, Rob, though.
I can't help
You're
it.
right. That's an autistic man thing.
Right.
Don't say the autistic things out loud.
That's right. So, but that's, if I'm honest about streaming.
Right.
That's a fear of mine that's like, well, what if I ever did get success? And what if then slowly it creeps up on you and you're like, well, okay, I don't have to talk about this one story, but then it's 2, then it's 3, then it's 10. And then the next thing you know, you're just parroting exactly what one party tells you to say, and you're worthless. And if I ever get to that point, I will be worthless because I don't think I'm the most handsome person or the smartest person. The one thing I have going for me is what I'm saying is what I really believe. And
right.
I've shot myself in the foot enough times that I think anyone who follows me would say, yeah, he definitely does. You know, I go on and I'm Christian. I go on and I debate against the Christian nationalists. It would be easy for me, who those guys have a bigger channel than me, to just agree with them and never disagree with them and then have a bigger following. I can't do it. That's not who I am. You know, I've agreed with
this long game. I mean, I think it'll pay off for you in the long run to be able to, both of us are still right at the beginning of our careers in the political world. Like we're children. So, you know,
fuck, at this point you have to be 80 to run for office, it seems like. So
yeah. And you're totally right about how you'll get ignored or excluded or various other things, not because you're worthless, but because you're so worthwhile. You would take someone else's job if they promoted you. So, and they're very aware of that, like you said. They're very happy to keep kind of skating along.
Well, there's a lot
keeping
of
it easy.
You'll see that. So I was going to say, you'll see as you, because I know you have this great idea where you're trying to sort of build a network of people. And I think it's a tremendous idea. It's something that needs to happen. And I'm glad someone with sort of more interpersonal skills is spearheading that. It's not something I would be good at.
That's not me.
What you'll see, though, is there are a lot of people, even on the right-wing space, that they don't want competition. They don't want someone that could possibly, like, I'm the exact opposite. I've said this forever. Part of the time, I don't even want to stream anymore. It's just that I don't see anyone who's doing particularly the debates as good as me. If someone came along and was doing basically what my thoughts are, but was just way better than me at presenting them and way better at them to debating, I wouldn't feel as much pressure to continue doing it. I don't care if someone that's smaller than me starts off and all of a sudden grows larger than me. That it's irrelevant to me. I do this for one reason. Like, for real, I do it because I enjoy it. That's it. It's a source of enjoyment for me right now. I hope that I help lead to positive changes in the culture and the politics of this country. But my primary reason isn't that I'm saying, oh, Rob's sacrificing to help the country. No, it ain't that at all. It's I have fun doing it. That's it. That's all it is. And so I don't have this personal grudge that's like, well, it's zero sum. If people are watching John, they're not watching me. I don't look at it that way. It's like, that's fine. Great. John's great.
I think I'll pick up a few subscribers from this, honestly. Not that that's obviously the point either. I mean, the brand and the money and all that. There's so many other things I could be doing that I enjoy doing more than this. In fact, I totally stopped. I just disappeared for 2 years and I came back this year because it seems like it's worth just contributing in whatever way. I mean, I'm just talking on the internet. And so getting involved locally seemed obvious, but there's something happening. Hold on this stream. Can we switch to the Trump stream real quick, Rob?
Yeah. Oh, he's talking.
It's extremely, let's say complicated, but let's also say conflicted. He's complicated and conflicted. And it's a very strange situation. Nobody's ever seen anything quite like it. But we have a situation where we have no crime. And this next couple of hours is very important because the judge can try and manufacture one where he goes from a misdemeanor, which doesn't exist because of the statute of limitations, doesn't exist, absolutely. And they try and bring it into a felony, but you can't do it because they haven't been able to prove it. And you see what's happened there with the border. Remember, I'm gagged. I'm not allowed to say what I'd like to really say, because you'd be very impressed. But I'm gagged. So why would I take the chance? If we do want to defend our Constitution, so at some point maybe I will take the chance. It's a very serious situation when a Republican nominee for president, the Republican nominee, somebody that won easily and quickly in record time, gets number one gagged, and number two is before a Democrat appointed judge. And you're playing with fire like this. It's very sad. But the good news is they've not proven a case. There is no crime. Now, you read all of these experts, and you know the ones that have to go over their names again, but all experts, legal scholars, talented people, very smart people, and there is no crime. So maybe they'll try and devise one right now, the judge, they'll help them out. Because the judge has been very helpful to the other side. And that should never be in our country. Now, on another note, Biden is releasing 1 million barrels of oil from the Northeast Reserve in a bid to lower prices at the pump just before the election, because he's unable to drill properly. So now he's destroyed everything we had. We were energy independent. We were shortly going to be energy dominant. And now he has to go into what's called the strategic reserves to give oil and gasoline essentially for cars, so they don't have to go up to $7, $8, $9 a barrel. By the way, if he ever got in again, you would be paying more than $10 a barrel. You better hope he doesn't get elected, goes and drive cars. And by the way, and everybody else in our country. So this is a big story. Just came out. He's releasing 1 million barrels of oil and the strategic reserves. He's been doing this to keep the prices down, but the prices are now higher than they've been in a long time. They're very high. And so he's trying to stop that, because high gasoline prices are not good for elections if you're on his side of it. But nothing he's done has been good for elections. Everything he's done has been very bad for our country. And the border, I don't know if you've seen, but the border, record numbers of people from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, fairs, record numbers of people are pouring into our country. Numbers like we've never seen before are pouring in. We have an incompetent president, and we have to win. And as I've said, November 5th, the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much.
How did you decide to testify in your case?
Trump, answer me, Trump. Answer my questions.
Mr. Trump, I'm important.
Please.
Answer
All
me.
right. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's it. We've been hanging out like every day for a week, just trying to catch his speeches. So,
What do you think of that case?
typical one. It's how closely have you been following this? Because I'm about to totally blow my brains out and then go find a small piece of that brain while it's still in motion and go surf on it.
So
Into
here's
the afterlife. It's fucking so stupid, man. I almost can't handle how dumb this case is. That's my thoughts.
it's really amazing. It just shows, again, when I talked about why I voted for Trump in 2016, it was because I knew that these establishment people would have no choice but to come out as corrupt and colluding with each other. This case is probably the pinnacle of that, because there's nothing there. And what I try to do is I try to lay the groundwork for, well, what does this mean? Why should the American people care? And I do a lot of debates on these sorts of things. So what's happening is you see that Trump's being charged in all of these different crimes. My contention is that more serious than any of the one crimes that he's charged with would be weaponizing our judicial system, our lawfare system, to interfere in an election. That's more serious than mishandling classified documents or anything else that he's accused of. So if you could point to even one of these cases, which I could point to all of them and why they're all double standards and corrupt, but if you could point to even one of them being corrupt, that's a far greater attack on our institutions than anything Trump's accused of. And this Bragg case is the epitome of that. So the other day I was debating some right-wingers who are anti-Trumpers. And the one, his name, I like him. He's a nice guy. His name's Counterpoints. Counterpoints started off talking about the Bragg case, saying, listen, Rob, it's just absurd and clearly illegal to use campaign finances to pay off some lady you slept with. And I said, Connor, that's the opposite of what he's being charged for. He's being charged for not using campaign finances. He's being charged because supposedly he used his own funds and he should have been forced to declare that a campaign finance. So even what I told him, and this is the truth, his reaction proves that no matter how Trump would have went about this situation, they would have charged him. If he would have used campaign money, they would have said, you can't use campaign money to pay off, a sexual dalliance. What really happened was Trump was extorted by Stormy Daniels, and it looks like his lawyer, Michael Cohen.
Right.
It was set up from the get-go. They stole Cohen, we now know, stole money. There was the FEC looked into this case, realized there was no campaign finance violation. The charge that he's charged with was committed in a more serious and blatant way by Hillary Clinton's team, who actually did have a campaign finance violation where they paid for the Steele dossier without disclosing it. Then they lied for a year. They weren't facing 130 years in prison. They were given a slap on the wrist and a fine. Then the statute of limitations runs out on Trump. So this DA who ran on the promise of getting Trump says even though the people tasked with investigating federal election laws decided not to charge Trump, we're going to arbitrarily say, yes, he did violate that law because this was something that he used that could have affected the election. Now, their legal theory saying that that is the definition of what's a campaign finance, that would mean that if you get a haircut and that could improve your chances of winning an election, that you have to put that as a campaign finance. So you can't use your own $10 to go to the local barber. Nope, you had to write that down on your finance forms that the reason you got that haircut was to help you win the election. So as absurd as that theory is, the statute of limitations run out. So then they have to say, but he intentionally cooked the books to cover up this crime, which they have no proof that he had any interaction whatsoever with the books. In fact,
there's proof, but it's to the opposite.
That's right. And then now we know, and it hinges on the fact that we're supposed to believe, well, the mere fact that he gave this serial perjurer, Michael Cohen, money, he wouldn't give him money without knowing where it was going. Cohen actually testified that he stole $60,000 of it, which means if Trump's really on the up and knows all of this, then he would have known that this $60,000 was stolen. And then the icing on the cake is with that $60,000, even CNN legal analysts are admitting that's a far more serious crime than anything Trump's accused of. And yet Alvin Bragg allows Cohen to get away with that, never charges him, never even forces him civilly to hand the money back to the Trump organization. And so what you can see is exactly what it appears, that it is a non-crime, that they have no evidence an initial crime took place, that they exacerbated the statute of limitation. They have no evidence the secondary crime took place, at least from Trump's end of it, and that their central and only witness is a serial liar that worked in conjunction with the DA to commit far more serious crimes that the DA was perfectly fine with because the DA ran on the promise of getting Donald Trump. It is as corrupt as you could get, and that's not even to get into Judge Merchant. Who,
right.
Merchant, this guy testifies yet. So let me make this as simple as possible for people that haven't been following this. This guy Costello testifies yesterday, and he's going to testify that a lot of the things Michael Cohen's talking about these payments to Stormy Daniels, conversations, emails, phone calls, etc. that happened weren't as Cohen's saying, that Cohen's lying. And the judge is bringing the hammer down on Costello. Like just interrupting him over and over and then accuses him of making faces, etc. Now you might say, well, maybe he's just a strict judge. Maybe that's the way he runs his courtroom. Except if you go back a week to when Stormy Daniels is there, she's basically telling dick jokes on the stand that has nothing to do with the case. And
we forgot all about that, though. That was a week ago, Rob.
Right.
It's like that didn't happen.
That's right. And Merchant was fine with that. He didn't say, this is a serious court. We can't have this be a circus. With that, because the whole thing is designed. They know that it won't hold up on appeal. Now, here's the thing. Despite everything I just said, Trump will be found guilty. There's a 90% chance that he's going to be found guilty.
You think so?
Yes, which further shows that the charges don't matter. Trump is an existential. The left has believed the hype that's been put forth by the institutions that Trump is an existential threat. He is the next Hitler. He will round up gay people. He will kick brown people out of the country. He's going to deport all Muslims. They believe this so much that they don't give a shit. So they'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll do whatever they can, and because in the bottom of their heart, they're like, it doesn't
morally justified.
Right.
Yeah.
I tell this story a lot, but there was this guy called in my show once, and we were talking about the audit of the Arizona election, and he wanted to call in to talk about it. And I don't know if you've ever had this, if you take calls, sometimes something weird will happen, like they'll call in and you end up talking about something totally irrelevant. So like, it'll just be a non-political story, like, hey, did you catch that recent movie? So I'm having this conversation with this guy. He seems pretty reasonable guy, and all of a sudden we bring up, okay, Trump in this case, and you could physically feel the change in his voice. Oh, Trump, he's the worst, blah, blah, blah. Just stereotypical Trump derangement syndrome. So we start going through the Arizona audit, and I'm like, okay, there's several different classifications of ballots that they're looking at. For example, there are ballots from people that had moved out of state. Should these ballots count or not? There are ballots that were received after the election deadline. Should these ballots count or not? And it's clear that the person I'm talking to has no interest in the particulars. He just says, sure, count them all, Trump lost. And I said, let me ask you a question, because he went off about how Trump's Hitler and all this. I said, if you worked in the election office on election day in Arizona, and you're looking at a map and you think, oh my God, if Trump wins Arizona, he's going to win the presidency, and he's going to be the next Hitler, and he's going to round up all gay people, and he's going to get us into World War III, et cetera, and you were afraid he was about to win Arizona, would you cheat to prevent it? Would you cheat to stop this madman Hitler from winning? And he said, yes, I absolutely would. That guy's a juror. Those are the type of people that are on juries, right? And it's not even them breaking law. They can say whatever the hell you want in a jury. And so now's their chance. You remember seeing the head grand jury lady from the classified documents case? She was just like airhead, like almost Valley Girl. It was like, oh my God, like Trump, he gets to swear in front of me and I get to like look in his eyes and blah, blah. Like those are the type of people. They are completely convinced that they are morally superior to Trump and everyone that supports him. And therefore the ends always justify the means. So it doesn't matter. They would just look at it like, well, maybe Trump's innocent of this charge on a technicality, but I know he committed 90 other felonies. So we're just going to lock him up now while we have the chance. And that's what's going to happen here.
Here's my concern, Rob. It's self-directed. I feel like the only way to beat something like that is to become it. And again, up until literally the past 100 years, you could just avoid the problem. And I think you even still have people like Elon Musk who's trying to build a spaceship to Mars to avoid the problem. And I'm sure if he pulls that off, there'll be very strict immigration on Mars. We've learned our lesson. But, you know, I feel like in order to engage with this Hydra beast that this has all become, you got to become a monster yourself, like Nietzsche would say, a staring into the abyss sort of thing.
It's sort of true, right? The question is, how far do you go with
Well,
it?
so like, you know, not that you are involved in counting ballots, but if you were and you could cheat to help Trump, would you?
I would not. I would not, both for my own self-integrity. There's two reasons. One, because
I don't think I would either.
Right.
But it's getting hard to still think that way.
Right. First, for a moral code, for my own moral reckoning. Like I said, I have to be able to look myself in the mirror. Now, there are certain things I am willing to do. For example, I'm not big on cancel culture. I'm not. However, I'm not going to defend people being canceled now. I don't give a shit that a bunch of lefties are getting their free speech stamped on college campuses right now who literally want me kicked off campus. I'm not going to call for their cancellation, but I'm not going to lift a finger to help them. They made their
I'm
bed.
removing all tacit assistance, all silent
right.
assistance that I've ever given. Never again.
So that's
Not
different
dollar
than
to charity.
Right, that's different than actively engaging in their censorship, right? So I could, morally, I can't do that. Also, I would make the case, and it's something I try to do, like it's the question of political violence, right? If you lived through the summer of 2020, the message was largely received by everyone in this country. If you were a left-winger, you could go engage in political violence with near immunity. You might be given a slap on the wrist. You might be given $1 million lawsuit a year or two later because you went out and decided to engage in destruction of property, et cetera, for cultural and political reasons. I was debating people all through that summer, and I kept saying, this is what's going to happen. You're showing the other side that this is acceptable. And the other side will eventually say, okay, we're going to play that game too. And when they do, you'll lose your fucking mind. You'll say, aha, see, you're the monsters, which is exactly what happened on January 6th. And
part of the plan. Yep.
One of the reasons I told people not to do this is, one, it's still not morally justified. You are not morally justified to engage in destruction of property, violence, etc. preemptively just because your opponents are. You're not. However, if I can't convince you of that, forget the moral argument and look at the strategic argument. And I would say the same when it comes to cheating in elections. You will not be given the same advantages that your opponents are because we have lost the cultural battle so significantly for the past 30 plus years. So if you engage in violence, they'll throw your ass in prison the rest of your life. If you would cheat in an election, they'll throw your ass in jail the rest of your life. They will use you as a symbol for why they are justified in cracking down. And that's exactly what happened with January 6th. And that's exactly what would happen with anyone if in some district they decide, well, we think that they're cheating in Maricopa County, so we're going to cheat here. So I strongly, vehemently, for both moral and strategic reasons, tell people to not engage in that sort of behavior. Now, there are other questions, though, about should we adapt the same strategies to the left? Is cancel culture something we should engage in? It's not something that I'm personally engaging with, but having said, and by the way, cancel culture is not exactly what you think. Like, you choosing of your own volition to no longer drink Bud Light, that's not cancel culture. You saying that certain people, filing boycotts because you don't want some person to speak on campus, that's cancel culture, or demanding they get fired. Those things are different. Anyways, for me, what I say is this. The left is making a huge mistake because even though I'm a pretty effective debater and I talk to these people, most of the people on the right that have engaged in the similar Twitch debate space as me, they're either basically centrist that agree with the left on a litany of issues, it's probably the majority of issues, or they're pushovers. And so what you'll see is a panel. I did this panel once, an 8-person panel. It's 4-on-4. Who are you voting for, Trump or Biden? 4 Republicans versus 4 Democrats. And the Democrats say, Biden, 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 Biden. Then it gets to the Republicans and they say, Biden, Biden, I'm not voting, and then me. I'm like, Trump. Right? And so if you looked at the comments after the, and I wrecked the panel, as I usually do, I absolutely crushed it. But what happened was when you looked at the comments from all the left-wingers fans, they were like, well, those other Republicans are good guys, but Rob's terrible. He's a Nazi. He's a horrible person. Now, they can't point to anything I said that's fascist or Nazi or racist or bigoted. They can't point to anything. It's just what they want is meek people or people that agree with them. And so anyone who's strong and will push back, they don't like. And the mistake...
This is good insight. Keep going, yeah.
The mistake they're making is, I'm going to lose. That's the truth. Someone like me, for example, I don't have a problem with gay marriage. I'm going to lose because I get treated like the very people like Nick Fuentes or the Christian nationalists. I'm treated the same. Cancel him, fuck him. He's terrible. He's horrible. He's a racist. He's a bigot. And so what's going to happen is, as you treat everyone like the worst person in the world, that's who they'll gravitate to. And so, and you've heard other people say this, like Jesse Kelly says this a lot on Twitter. If you're afraid that Trump was like a dictator, wait until the next guy comes. Because he's going to be like Franco. And I'm not even going to like a lot of the stuff that guy does. But the left has it coming. They do. Because that's what they've cheered for over and over. So for me, I'm still trying to be that buffer from between that says, I don't think you're a terrible person if you're left wing. I could still be friends with you. I could still talk to you. But there is all this corruption that goes on in this system that we need to deal with. And right now, you hate Trump so much, it's blinders on you that you can't see how this corruption is going to be used over and over again to not just disenfranchise me and the people like me, but also eventually you. You can't see it. And eventually, the more that I'm shut out and the more that people don't want to listen to me, okay, what's going to happen is you're going to have more extreme people on the right. And they're going to come along and they're going to say gay marriage should be banned. Maybe we should ban some forms of contraception. Maybe we should be mandating the teaching of Christianity in schools. Maybe we should deport every single person that's came here in the last 20 years, right? And they're going to be more hardline than me. Now, on some of those issues, I'm a little hardline, but that's the truth of it. And they can't get, so, hey, I warned them. And that's the one thing I have to say. We're not guaranteed to win. It's a mistake I think people make. They look at life like it's a fairy tale or a comic book or something. It's not the truth. We may lose. Empires all crumble. It might be downhill for the United States from here.
I honestly am leaning more lose than win. I'm just willing to wait through November.
Yeah.
But very good. A lot of compressed data in what you just said, and so I'd encourage people to watch that part, all of this, but especially that part back, and think about what he's saying. No, yeah. I mean, it's not even that you're talking fast. It's just there's a lot going on. There really is. I can't make sense of it, big picture. I don't know that anybody can. I don't even know if anybody's really in charge of this shit.
It gets out of hand and that's another one of the problems is the people that are running things are both corrupt but also incompetent. Right. And so they're feeding a wild beast that's turning on them simultaneously. You see that with this Palestine, Israel. It's happening. And we like to think like, you think of like, when I talk about a deep state or an establishment, that it's like George Soros and John Kerry and George Bush drinking blood out of his skull, smoking cigars with like black cloaks. Like, that's not the shit I'm talking about. Like, because that at least implies like some sort of grand villainy of people with some idea, with some intelligence. I don't even think it's that. It's short-sighted like-minded people that see things that would benefit them immediately in their lives. Oh, if we didn't have nation states, then we'd be able to have this globalist economic system that we could benefit even better for. And then we wouldn't be reliant on the plebes as much, and we could do whatever we want and have an even more control over this world, right? Like, that's what they're looking at, but they don't see the factions that they're creating in an effort to do this and what it might end up meaning for the world at large, or in this case, the country at large in the United States. So when I say we might lose, like, you know, I already talked about reasons not to be blackpilled. I think there are cultural reasons to be excited in our lives right now. I think people are waking up to a lot of this stuff culturally.
Yeah.
I think that there are reasons to always be more concerned about, are you doing the right thing? Are you being a good husband? Are you being a good father? Are you being a good wife? Are you being a good son? Like, all of those things I think are more important in the grand scheme, because we'll all be dead in 1,000 years. So those things and how you're affecting those close to your life are more important. But one of my guilty pleasures, and this isn't a very Christian thing, but I don't care, is knowing that some of these very same shitheads that I talk to over and over that make fun of this corruption and make fun of January 6 people being locked up, they deserve it, or make fun of people like me when we're being demonetized, they're going to get it the worst. Right? These people have no survival skills. They're totally reliant on these institutions. And so when you see these pro-Palestinian protesters on campus, and again, I think sometimes they've been mistreated. I'm not even saying that. I think they have the right to speak. Smashing property, locking people in schools, that's different. Those are different crimes. But just sitting on the quad and shouting, "Death to Israel," whatever, have at her. I don't care. You know, like, from the river to the sea or whatever they say. You know, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's free speech. You should be allowed to say that stuff if you're not harming other people. And so to watch them, like, totally flabbergasted, like when they get arrested, we're not going to graduate? Huh? You can't help but chuckle, because it's like these people would have threw me in a gulag 10 years ago if they could. And they thought, just like if you read, like, you know, Solzhenitsyn and the Gulag Archipelago, like, these people that were so happy to see their political enemies or their neighbors they didn't like thrown in the gulag, those people were strong, those first people that got thrown in. They survived. It's those secondary people that wish that upon others that can't survive. So, hey, more power to you. All the people in the cities defund the police, have at her. Live in your utopia, man. All of you people that want to, you know, cheer for lockdowns and shit, then all of a sudden the supply chain crunch, you can't afford a cheeseburger anymore. I live on the land. Most of the people I know are farmers. We'll be okay. We hunt for, you know, food for the winter. So I kind of chuckle when I see these people on the left where it's just like, oh yeah, we're worshiping big government. Their boots coming down on you right now, but you deserve it. It's like, okay, keep that energy going. And you can see that in everything. You see this double standard, right? Like, if you follow the Russia games.
Well, my concern would be, I as much as I'm not saying you know, you like, I think you actually said it pretty well. So you can't help but chuckle. It's not like you're feeling great about any of it, though. If you had it your way, they would wake the fuck up and help us all stay free. Maybe not to put words in your mouth, but is kind of how I'm interpreting.
Sure. Or not. I still wouldn't do harm if I was in charge.
Alone, at least.
Right. That's just it. The ironic thing is, under a system like me and you, what we would want, they could still hate us and they'd still be better off. We would say, that's fine. You don't have to like us. You don't have to pull the rope with us. We're just telling you to leave us the fuck alone.
And maybe that's kind of the final thought of all of this. I think there's at least two different kinds of people now. There's like two different behavioral species. They look the same. We look the same, but I've always a mild interest in history. I'm no historian, but I am aware that in human, you don't have to believe any of this if you don't, whatever, but in human evolution, they call it, there's certainly skeletons that are, you know, a couple 100,000 years old roughly now. But the modern behaviors, so burying the dead, making jewelry, making religious artifacts, that kind of stuff, that didn't really pop up until about 50,000 years ago. They call it the Great Leap Forward. Okay. But before that, for 5 times as long, people looked identical. Then they started behaving differently, but still looked identical. I think, number one, there's still a lot of people alive on the planet today that are that pre-religion evolving type of human. Like, they just haven't evolved it yet. They might not have an internal monologue. They have no sort of connection to God, something like that. This idea that we're all this homogenous species in some way, I've totally given up on it. I don't think it's racial or gender or anything like that. I just have run across, I'm super autistic, I'm good at recognized patterns. Look, I think you're somebody that is whatever the fuck is wrong with me. I mean, there's something wrong with us maybe. It's a minority, but so are advanced evolutionary advanced mutations, mutations that will advance you, will always begin as a minority. And then one of the weird things happening now is birth control. Um, People like, I mean, I don't know. I probably should have like 500 kids and I don't. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Saved me from a lot of mistakes and stuff. But in the past, that's sort of what would happen. I think it's like the farmers are penning in the farm animals, and a few of them are kind of rowdy, like you and me, and so we get called.
I agree. I
And
agree with that point. Absolutely. Like one of the things I was looking at, so I'm doing a debate tomorrow against an economist named Noah Smith. And one of the things that I'm assuming we'll be talking about is job creation. And so all of these jobs that were created under Biden, now, obvious, the majority of that is you locked us down and then let us go back to work and you say you create a job. That's horseshit. But even bigger point than that is it turns out that actually native born U.S. people are actually still lagging behind jobs than pre-pandemic. Almost all of the jobs that have been created have gone to foreign born people. Why? What's going on in our country? And there's a significant conversation about birth rates. And again, I think it goes back to the point I was trying to make of having erasing the middle class of the United States. So what you want is people that will be thankful and compliant to be your worker bees, and people
breeding
that don't.
program.
That's right. Well, people that don't have a national identity and attachment to the country won't understand the values of being middle class or understand what they're missing out. They'll be thankful to come from a third world country, be in the United States, and be able to have these sorts of things. Oh, look at this. That's
My hydraulics on my mower just broke. I'm releasing my anger by throwing money at Linda's thirst trap. I think I missed Linda's thirst trap, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
my
Thank you so
carburetor went out in my mower, so that's what I'm going to be looking at after the show. But I won't be looking at. My father-in-law will be, and I'll be handing him an ice cold drink or something. But anyways, yeah. So I think you see that birth control is certainly part of that. You know, let's look at it in a different way. With the trucker strike, when it came to the lockdowns that you saw, particularly in Canada, and there were also talks in the United States of potential strikes. One of the things I think is interesting is I think we're at a key time where a lot of people's labor in industries like that, in the shipping industry, it won't go away completely, but it's certainly going to have more competition as we get to more of like drone technology, technology where we'll be able to ship with less and less people. You'll need less truck drivers, etc. So right now, the people in these positions of authority are still reliant on sort of these worker bees. But what happens when they're not? What happens when your usefulness runs out? And I think that's a lot of the idea of birth control and the dissuasion of the nuclear family. It has a twofold approach. One is it calls a population and keeps it more manageable, and then demands an increase of population from outsiders that won't share the same values, which will be more compliant. But the other thing it does is the nuclear family is something that you put above your government. You put above, your job. That should be your religion and your family. Those should be the top two priorities in your life. And so they seek to erode both of those things. That's why they want to attack Christianity. That's why they want to attack the nuclear family, because they want you to worship the government. They want you to be reliant. They want you to look at them like the feudal lord that's better than you, that, you're not worthy to be deigned upon their presence. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think that is a lot of what we're seeing with like birth control. I think that, and if no matter if you want to get even more conspiratorial, you have the whole idea of like the Georgia Guidestones and the idea that they want a population of 300 million people. And so they're trying to cull us to those sorts of levels. There's been this Malthusian death wish, and it's most evident in the climate cultists that sort of want to advocate for policies that would lead to an incredible amount of loss of human life. And they all think it's cool because they think that they'll be the ones benefiting.
Yeah, they're the one.
George Carlin, I know people overquote Carlin all the time, and certainly he wouldn't be a fan of my politics, but he was absolutely right when he talked about a lot of these climate change people. What they mean is it's bad for them. That's what their little area and them. That's what it's bad for. Right? They don't care about the world in general. They don't care about the human population in general. They care about what's best for them. And most of the time, it's just another climate cult is just another communist, cultural Marxist horseshit that sets up oppressors versus oppressed. And it's all designed not because they feel bad for the people they call oppressed and want to help them, but it's used as an attack to go after people they perceive as having more than them. So the entire climate change industry, what it's really about, there are real things. Like I saw Mike Cernovich was saying this today. It's absolutely true. If you believed all the climate change data, the very first thing you would do is say, okay, no more private air travel. But they don't do
Right.
that. Why? Well,
The
because
behaviors don't match the words.
that's right. You wouldn't be buying property in Martha's Vineyard for millions of dollars or oceanfront property. You wouldn't be doing this. Same shit was true of COVID. If you thought COVID was the new leprosy, like they were telling us, you wouldn't have been going out to the French Laundry for dinner. You wouldn't have been banging your mistress. You wouldn't have had a big birthday party at Martha's Vineyard but that's what they were doing. Meanwhile,
You're
they
a
were
thinker,
telling us,
Rob.
Yeah.
Stop that.
That's right.
Stop doing that. Hey, we're at the 4 o'clock hour. I would like to have multiple conversations with you over the coming months, if you're willing. I'm still apparently battling to figure out who the fuck's hacking my internet. Some FBI guys out. I've literally set up these little miniature cameras and shit. Although we've got it pretty dialed in. It's going on in Pittsburgh. So, but this was great. Not cutting you off or anything like that. I'm genuinely going to digest what you just said. I'm going to watch it again. And I'm always a fan of people that think, and then you combine that with someone who has the giant balls to put their fucking face on the internet. Really hard. No one understands that like I do. I mean, I know you get that. I think you're doing really awesome work. I would strongly encourage everybody, Normal America with Rob Noerr right here. And then the link tree there, which I believe I had on the screen for the majority of this. There's all your stuff. Check it out. Definitely. Let's pump these numbers. These are rookie numbers, as Matthew McConaughey would say on the 5,000. Let's double that if we can. I don't used to be able to. 2 years ago, you would have gotten like 10,000 more subscribers from this, but I don't know that that's really true anymore. I don't think my people even get notifications I'm doing shit. So it is what it is. But this was great. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you sticking around. I'll be in touch. I'll probably end up sending you my number, email, or something like that. But appreciate your time, the hour, and if I had more to say, I would, but I genuinely need to analyze it. A lot of information you just gave us. Good stuff. Rob Noerr, people check him out. Any final words for us?
No, it was a pleasure, and I look forward to doing it again. Hopefully, we can make it like a monthly thing. Also, keep in touch. We'll talk about. I travel out to Center County a lot for some stuff, so yeah, maybe we can meet in person or something.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I'd be 100% for that. So thank you, Rob. I'm gonna close this Zoom down. I'm probably gonna end the stream here myself too. But
All
enjoy
right,
the rest of your evening, man.
Yep.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. All right, let's get back here. I'll go weigh you. Talk a little. Yeah, it's fun. John's a cool guy. So let's get his links here for you all now before I leave. So first we'll put his Twitter link out there for you all to go to. Maybe. There we go. So here's his profile. And he's got his links there. To his official website. But very cool. Very much enjoyed that. Will we be getting a second stream today? Not sure. I got to do some yard work with my herniated back. Probably not much, but I'm going to watch the little guy while my wife does some yard work. So I don't know if I'll be doing a second stream. I would like to hopefully get some preparation in for my debate. So reminder, that debate against economist Noah Smith is going to be around 7 p.m. tomorrow. Should be fun. I think it'll be a good debate. I'm enjoying it. I enjoy talking to people in their areas of specialty. So be a lot of economic talk. But I would like to delve into a couple numbers, ideas that I have of things that I want to talk about regarding that. So not sure that I'll be streaming this evening. Now, a reminder, though, you can continue to check out my YouTube channel. We're clipping these live streams and putting up like 10, 20-minute videos to the YouTube every day at noon. So keep checking that out. And I'm trying to put more like 2-minute content up that I'm doing myself as well. So hopefully we'll get to some of that. But I'm going to go downstairs and see if my wife needs help. She was going grocery shopping with the little man. So we'll see if I can help her bring in some groceries and then help with some yard work and stuff. If I am streaming tonight, it'll probably be a little later. 8, 9-ish around then. And it'll probably be a boring stream because I'm sure it'll probably somewhat be a research stream if I have time. unfortunately, tomorrow, if I don't do research tonight, I probably won't get a chance to do it because tomorrow I actually have doctor appointment and then I think my first round of physical therapy. So it'll be funny. I'll probably be live streaming this debate like an hour after like physical therapy where my back feels like it's about to fall off. So this should be a lot of fun. It should be interesting. So it should do some research tonight. So hopefully it's something I get to. Thanks, C-Death. I appreciate it. Let's see if we can find someone to read. Please check out John Ward's channel, though. I put those links up there. Please check it out. I thought he was an awesome guy. Look forward to talking to him, working with him here in the future, including in real life, hopefully. It was interesting. I was unaware he's in Center County. I spent a lot of time out there doing some politics stuff, so in real life. As much as I'm disliked here in the local area, I actually think the Center County people like me, so here in the I don't see anyone to raid, really. There we go. Patriot News for you. Sounds great. Never heard of them, but we'll do that raid. And thank you all so much. I know, listen, you guys really are the best. I'm so sorry that I don't put out as much content as you all deserve. I really am trying to be more consistent with it. It's something I need to do. I know most people are really cool and understanding that, things like a job and being, working with a family come first, but it's still frustrating to people. I know that, that would like to see me stream more consistently. So I am trying to make an effort to get that done. And hopefully going forward, I got some irons in the fire that we can make that sort of happen. So please enjoy this raid of Patriot News for you. I may be back around 8 p.m. tonight. If not, please check out the show. It'll be a good one tomorrow. Debate, 7 p.m. Eastern. Will I get my ass kicked talking about economics to an economist? We shall see. Should be a lot of fun. So thanks so much, everyone. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. As always, have a good one.